The act of writing used to be a simple one. Pull out a piece of paper, grab a pencil, and let the words flow. But in our modern culture, we are flooded with hundreds of different options for computer software, phone apps, websites, and even complicated analog tools. As you know, if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, I do love software tools such as Scrivener and Notion for organizing and writing. But in the last few years, I have personally struggled a lot with dopamine and focus for reasons I won't go into here. Those reasons were making it hard for me to focus when using software like Scrivener from being distracted, ultimately leading to never finishing the work I set out to finish. For this reason, in the last few weeks, I've gone completely analog, preferring to handwrite my stories in individual notebooks. In this video, we are going to explore the 4 things I have learned by writing my stories on paper and going analog. Huzzah! Number 1. Back to basics. The first thing I noticed was the feeling of being back to the basics. With software, it's often very easy to distract yourself optimizing, tweaking, and playing with the software itself to get everything just right, instead of actually writing your story. With paper, there are no frills, nothing to mess with, no settings to adjust. You simply pick up a pencil, grab a notebook, and write. I found myself having massive feelings of relief writing on paper because everything has melted away. There's no email to check, no notifications dinging in your ears, and the constant pressure of reminding yourself to fight the temptations of everything you can do on your computer is completely gone. If you've watched my video on 5 best-selling habits, I talk about how James Patterson writes all of his novels on yellow legal pads, which are typed up later. It's also fun to consider how you are following in the footsteps of the greats, who wouldn't have had any other option but paper. Number 2. It's more intentional. It's far more intentional to write on paper. As I mentioned in the first point, there's nothing else you can do with the paper other than write. Paper doesn't have notifications or phone calls or email or text messages. It is simply paper, ready to receive the words you so desperately need to get out of your mind. But the act of writing on paper requires more of you than simply pulling up a computer program. You have to select a notebook, have a writing utensil, find a quiet place to sit, set everything else aside, and then sit down to do the work. It's not something you can pull up next to all the other things on your phone or computer. The act of writing on a computer is just one click away, whereas writing on paper requires a little more setup, allowing you to get into the mindset of writing faster and easier. I also found myself being more selective and intentional with my word choices. It's hard to erase and change when writing on paper, which prompted me to think a little more about each sentence before committing to put them down. This, I believe, will prove to be a large benefit when editing the manuscript begins. There will be less fluff and better constructed sentences when I'm ready to produce the final version. Before I continue, don't forget to check out my brother's channel, Author Quest, where he shares insights on writing, characters, and other story ideas. Make sure to subscribe and tell him I sent you. Huzzah! Number 3. Relax. The third thing I learned was to relax while writing. This was an interesting physical limitation where I found myself tensing and grasping the pencil harder the longer I wrote. This didn't work out well when my hand began to cramp after only a few sentences. It made me consider an important truth. Sometimes we are so stressed by the idea and act of writing, our creativity suffers. Now, as I write, I'm conscious of my physical state and how it affects my mental state by actively relaxing my hand and staying focused on how tense I am. This has, over time, led to stronger and more creative writing sessions than I previously experienced writing on a computer. Number 4. It is far more enjoyable. Writing my stories on paper has proven to be far more enjoyable. This one in particular, I'm not sure I can explain well, but as I would write, relax, write more, and the story slowly came out, I found myself feeling very joyful and smiling even. It's as if focusing on the actual task of writing and doing so in the original form writing was meant to be, I found true joy in writing. Writing short stories or a novel on paper has shown me how disconnected and sterile writing on a computer can be. But when you sit down with and pair the emotional and creative aspects of writing with a back-to-basics approach of physically writing on paper, the true joy of writing comes into view. So relax, pull out some paper, and get writing. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you take this information and try handwriting your stories for yourself. You might just surprise yourself. Don't forget to check out our favorite tool for outlining and organizing novels, which is not writing on paper. Storybook Pro is a Notion template designed to be the all-in-one outlining tool for your novel or series. If you'd like more information on how it works, you can check out this video here.